Welcome back to the Pick 109 podcast, episode 45. I'm here with Muzzy.
Hey.
Coxie.
Hey.
Snakeo.
Hey, everyone.
And we have a special guest this week. We've got journalist Jeremy Nash joining us this week.
Thanks for having me, boys.
No worries. Well, without further ado, let's get stuck straight into it. We had the NRL Preliminary Finals on the weekend, and we had the Seagulls 42 over the Roosters 6. Boys.
Moving on, there was another good game. We should talk about it.
We'll talk about that next. We'll get the harsh one out of the way.
Seagulls are flat track bullies. We all know it.
I didn't realise that you talked to Ryan Girdler, mate.
Yeah, I did. I thought he had some really good points. Manly do run up a score really quick once they give a minute going. And the Roosters just ran out of fatigue. Tommy was just too good early and said he can't do everything by himself.
I think you, with Tommy, you always know when he has a game like that, the week before against Melbourne there where they just shut him down. He's one of those players where he's just going to come back firing. He has one of those weeks and he just comes back and he's like, we all know what he's like.
And to the defense of Drew Hutchison and Lockie Lamb and that, our kicking game just wasn't good enough to take him out of the game. We just gave him such easy ball, middle of the field. He could just do whatever he wanted. So, but our kicking game wasn't up to it. And it's the same result we've had all year against top four teams. So we go really good against everyone below us. And we get our arse absolutely handed to us by everyone above us. So it's what's happened all year. It's a disappointing way for the season to end, but I think with all the injuries and everything that's happened for the Roosters this year and the people we've got coming back next year, the club's in a better position now than we were at the start of the season because our depth has just gone through the roof. So
I think for a lot of neutral fans though too, we were waiting for this, basically the levy to break on the Roosters though too, in terms of the amount of points being scored, because they've done so well the last few weeks to just sort of hang in there. And they got the win last week against the Titans, in a close one, but we could just see that there was something about to break, and it was going to be between whichever team they played, it was going to be tough to win against. So
yeah.
I think as a Roosters fan, I didn't really expect us to come out winning, especially after the way we played against the Titans the week before. But, in saying that, I was hoping it was going to be a bit closer than what it was, because that was not a fun game to watch.
In all fairness, I thought we were really competitive through stages. Just Manly just had runs of time where they just scored at will. But the Roosters' defense, even though you look at the scoreline, it probably doesn't show you how good defensively the Roosters were there at times. We just got broke open in sections of play, and we really didn't execute well. Possession was poor, and our kicks at the end of sets were poor too. So
yeah,
for a team like Manly that run up scores really quick, it's a recipe for disaster if you're going to play like that.
Yeah. Well, it was always going to be tough knowing that 70% of your starting side was on the sidelines too. And look, we can talk about how courageous they are, but Benny Matthews will be spewing if we talk about the Roosters anymore.
Just stuff Benny Matthews.
That's a great result for Manly too, though, to sort of run up that kind of a scoreline, especially the way they, were beaten by Melbourne.
They've got the easiest run now.
Tommy Turbo too. They took Tommy off.
With
15 minutes to go. So,
and they've got of all the games this weekend, that's the one you'd want. You'd want South. You don't want to be on the other side of the draw. So, Seagulls, I reckon they're at the moment they're in the box seat, because I reckon Penrith and the Melbourne could beat each other up. But we'll just see.
That's it. No, very good. Well, let's move on to Saturday night's absolute barnstorm of a game. We had the Panthers 8 over the Eels 6. Now, for our listeners, Jeremy, you are a big Panthers fan. How much were you bricking it on Saturday night?
Yeah, I didn't enjoy 1 second of it, if I'm honest. It was just brutal. It's hands down one of the most brutal games I can remember watching in recent years. Just it was a bit of an old school clash, like particularly this year where we've seen so many high scoring matches, so many blowouts. It was actually really nice and refreshing to see a good old school defensive battle. And particularly that second half, both teams had so many chances and just continued to get pushed away. So unbelievable game. Unfortunately, Mark, a bit of controversy at the end, but it was it's obviously stressful as a fan, but you got admire the effort of both teams. It was just awesome. So
well, like you said, like anyone could have scored at any time, really. Like that's how close it was in terms of like the competitiveness. And I think I was talking to some of the other guys in the group chat saying that the intensity of this game may have been one of the best games of the whole year.
Yeah.
Like it was just like I couldn't believe how close it was for the whole game. Like I just thought at one point someone was just gonna break.
Yeah.
Like it just seemed like if someone scores one more try or something,
they could win 20-6.
Yeah.
I think for the Parramatta team, this is what we thought they were going to be this year.
Yeah.
And this is what we spoke about them being this year, where they get up for these big games. But like we had them as giant slayers because they could beat any of the top teams. But it was I think those little cracks came out to play again from when they play against lower end teams, and they just seem to let off the pedal a little bit. And I think this game was much better for them and for their future.
I think this final series has been the best for one person. I think one person's got the most out of it so far, and that's Mitchell Moses.
Yeah, absolutely.
We talked about him before this game, and I said since Origin he's had a broken back, and he's come back from that, and then had a mammoth game against Melbourne. He was really good last week against Newcastle, but he was really good again. His kicking game kept him in this a lot, especially with his ability to kick out of his own end and sort of turn Penrith back around. If he was playing for the Roosters, that scoreline would have been completely different because like that kicking game was the difference. I think for him going into next year is a massive piece of the puzzle for Parramatta because he's going to be better for longer. And I think he's really got a lot of confidence now against those top teams from his experience in Origin, from games like this, the game against Melbourne. But they beat Melbourne twice this year. Like they've only lost 3 games all year, 2 of them to Parramatta. So it proves that they've got the ability to do it. And I think people like Mitch Moses, they're the ones that are going to be the difference makers if Parramatta are going to win a comp.
Well, really, and like we said earlier too, like Mitch Moses coming out of that Origin experience though too, just gave him that big game experience too, like in terms of controlling the game at a different tempo as well. So you could almost say like the intensity of that game on the weekend was almost like an Origin game, considering how quick the game was moving. So
who's the Parramatta 5'8"? What's his name again?
Dylan Brown.
Dylan Brown. He comes under he gets a lot of criticism. But I thought on the weekend, especially defensively, he does a really good job. And he's like 22. So like he's super young. Defensively, he's got his game down pat. I think that partnership, that halves combo, that could be really good in the future if they can keep them together. I know Canberra's
very similar.
If they keep them together, I think they're going to be really good.
It's very similar in a sense, though, too, compared to like Parramatta. Like you've got the controlling halfback with like Cleary and like Moses, and then you've got the running 5'8" in Dylan Brown and Jerome Luai. So
Brown just needs to run the ball more.
Well, so did
defensively
really on the weekend. So
but defensively, I thought he was outstanding. And for me, that's where you build your game. You always build it from defense up, and if he's got that, then I think he's going to be good. So.
What kind of pieces do you think the Eels need to, or might need to look at adding just to step it up for next year? Do you think?
I think they need a centre. Honestly,
I also think losing Reid Marnie to injury was huge for him. He's such an important piece for him. So losing him at the back end of the season has had a bigger effect than people realise.
Ray Stone was terrible at the end there. He was.
Well, there's three knock-ons that he did, like, well, 2 knock-ons, and then that flat ball into Junior Paulo that bounced off his chest. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I was surprised. I was surprised that they didn't move.
You're 100% right.
I was surprised that they didn't move Will Smith into the dummy half role. The fact that he was out there playing, and then he was just sort of playing like in the center a bit.
Yeah.
But,
well, they got him back on after Ray Stone dropped those few balls, but then he didn't go into.
Yeah, but he didn't go into that.
It didn't make sense. Like they got him on the field, but then he didn't do the job. Like it was. It was bizarre, and he did a good job in the first half, Will Smith, when he was in there. So
you also have to think for the Eels, they lose Blake Ferguson next year too.
Yeah, but he also, you got to remember, he was really good in the final series, but he wasn't in their starting team about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah,
the only reason he's in there is because Sammy got injured. So yeah, but Penrith, it's going to be a belter of a game this weekend. So.
Yeah, I worry. Number one, because it's Melbourne and they're just so good. But number two, we would have come out of that game on Saturday night bruised as. And a few injury concerns, like kick out, couldn't finish the game. Mitch Kenny's probably out. Dylan Edwards, Brian Toe still under an injury cloud. So if some of those guys can't go, and you know, Melbourne will be fresh, got the week off. We're coming off a physical encounter. It's going to be very tough.
It's going to be tough,
The only thing is that you always hear it swings and roundabouts this time every year. You hear it. Melbourne rested a lot of players the last week of the regular season. They go out then and have a really good but easy win against Manly. Like they weren't really physically tested, and then they've had another week off. So you do stress that they don't have the footy in the legs, but they're a champion team with a champion coach, so you can't always be. They'll be ready, but there is that doubt that they might be a little bit scratchy early, and you might be able to take advantage.
I think the other thing for the Panthers though too is like, as much as they've been dominant during the regular season, like in the finals, like just those little 1% things that they usually do so well have just been a little bit off. In the finals, like we saw Burton last week sort of not drop a couple, but overrun the ball, or like and then Billy Army kick out had a couple of blunders as well. But those sort of things you need to tighten up for finals if they get through to the grand final. So
I think the good thing for Penrith is that was probably their best game in a few weeks. And like I think there was starting to become a thing building about them, like. The worst game they played all last year was the grand final. Then they rock up week 1 and they get beat again by South, who they were expected to beat. I think it could have been very easy. If they lose this game, it's bad news for Penrith. Because you get all this extra stuff of like, do we need someone else other than Ivan? Because you need that someone to get you the next step and all that. So it was a big win for them, really, mentally, I think, more than anything else.
Well, like I said the other night too, when they played, I was like, if Momorowski didn't pass that ball, I think he was going over the line anyway. Like for that try, but also like I don't think it can be understated how much they missed Toto in that game too. Like the amount of meters that he runs just to alleviate a bit of pressure. Like it may only be 5 meters or so each run, but that's 5 meters closer to the halfway line that gets you out of trouble to get a good kick away. So
So he's too.
Like the legs just keep pumping, and especially off the back when they kick it down and he's carrying it for the first tackle. And just with the energy he has, I think that's a big relief for some of the forwards when they're tracking back. And you got someone like Brian who's just running with such aggression to get it back up there. So anyway,
I think it was good for like Dylan Edwards as well. Like he had a shaky start, and like Parramatta scored off that. But like as the game went on, he got a lot more comfortable. So that'll be good for him in the long run.
That like high ball. I mean, that was an awesome bomb that all the fullbacks would have struggled with. But I think that was his only blemish on the night. And Dylan Edwards, I think the whole season has just been so safe under the high ball, and when he's not there, you really notice it. So Yeah, so fingers crossed. I was reading earlier today that he's under a bit of an injury cloud. So fingers crossed because we do need him.
Yeah, I think they've still got him at day to day. So
yeah.
What was the injury cloud that he's like? Is it his ankle?
I think it was his ankle.
Yeah. He's had trouble with that the last couple of years too.
Yeah.
But hopefully they're all good for next week.
Well, hopefully.
Let's move on to the major semi-finals that we've got this coming week. So we'll start off with the Rabbitohs and Sea Eagles. This could go either way, but yeah, I'm not like it's the easier run to the grand final, realistically.
You don't know what South team's going to turn up, and they've got the master as their coach. So expect something out there for Tommy or whatever. They've got a game plan. I don't have a bone in my body that allows me to pick South. So I hope they get beat by 48 points. Would be nice.
I thought they were your second favourite team.
You can shove that as far up your ass as you want.
That's only when Latrell's playing.
Only when Latrell's playing. But yeah, so I'm going Manly just because I hate South.
Yeah, I think that week off would have done them a world of good, but that win for Manly though on the weekend, like having it that easy,
I think it did them a lot of good too.
But yeah, could go either way.
Mind you think the Bunnies would have to be like their confidence would have to be huge as well.
Yeah, well, after that win against Penrith,
I thought that win against us was one of their best games of the season. They just had us panicking, and they just put the pressure on. And so if they just do that again and focus on taking Turbo out of the game like Melbourne did, I'm tipping South. I think South will do it. I think it'll be really close, but I think South will get up.
Yeah. And especially, Penrith sort of clapped South all year. And for them to sort of pull that off, I think they've got a huge mental edge. I think it's a bit hard not to go South, to be honest.
Well, if it allows like Cody Walker and Adam Reynolds to play their natural game too, it's going to be a huge advantage for them. Like, regardless of how good Cherry Evans' form has been the last couple of weeks, I don't think he, at the minute, compares to Adam Reynolds in terms of kicking game.
Cherry Evans for me, I don't think he's anywhere near as good as Reynolds at the minute. I think Reynolds is playing the best footy of his life. If South Sydney win this, but it does do one thing. It tells us that Latrell's all hype and he does absolutely nothing at the back that makes them better teams. So.
But you know what happens if they lose, though? If they lose, though, they go, well, if they would have won if they had Latrell there.
Yeah, I reckon they would have lost last week if they had Latrell there. So.
Very good. We'll move on to probably the biggest game of the round. Storm up against Panthers.
Whew, bit of money for Penrith.
Yeah, wow.
Get on that. Good value. 13 plus, I reckon.
13 plus.
Yeah, easy.
Gee, that's risky.
I think if never win a multi
this week then.
No.
I think for most people, this is probably the grand final, though. I think in terms of a show as well, I think this is probably what everyone wanted the year to end on. Two teams that have been in the most form and probably the best form all year. We know that even though Penrith had that bit of a lull in between, it didn't really impact their game that much. I think is definitely the game. I think probably better than the grand final, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you asked anyone 2 weeks ago, and everyone's telling you that's the grand final right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's been touted like that all year, though, too. And everyone was thinking that Penrith, not last week, 2 weeks ago, Penrith were just going to roll through Rabbitohs without Latrell there. And I just don't know. I think that week off for the Storm is just, it allows like Addo Carr to get better over that week, and it also allows Munster to recover as well. So it's going to be really tough.
I agree. I think it's going to be tough for Penrith to get up. If I'm being completely honest, I think just we sort of started to slowly find our feet, but since Origin, we've just been lacking that polish and that just finishing touch that we were just perfect on through the first half, first 2 months of the season. So And yeah, just with that match on Saturday night as well coming into this, I think we're just going to have to start well. If you let Melbourne get out to an early lead, you're not going to chase them down. And so we got to score early points and fast. I think put the pressure on them.
It's almost like that chemistry's been affected, Jem. Would you say? It just feels
a
like
little bit
since that Origin, like probably game 2 of the Origin series, that the chemistry's really been thrown out.
I think, just having, obviously Lizzie plays to Origin, and then, Cleary and Luai were injured for a bit, had a few little injuries here and there, and just haven't played enough together since then. But, it's been, I don't know, just been lacking that polish that, we've been so good at for the last 2 years. But, anything can happen. See how we go.
Yeah, no, well, I think
normally the people on this podcast are a lot more one-eyed than that. But.
Just thought I'd bring a different touch to the show, mate.
Yeah. You're allowed to mix it up, mate. But
never. No, very good. Well, it's going to be a couple of cracking games for the game for the to get into the grand final. My goodness. Very good. Well, let's jump across to the NFL. We've got our resident NFL expert in tonight for this very purpose. They're sick of Snakeo's lack of knowledge in the NFL, so we thought we
think it's bad for the NFL, Jem. You should leave me talk about the EPL, mate. Holy
hell! So I guess we'll start with who do you think will benefit the most this year, Jem, or who's sort of front runners?
I think probably still Tampa Bay, to be honest. Brady somehow still just looks like the best quarterback in football. They kept their entire starting side on both offense and defense from last season. They've started the season on fire. So I think they're still the favourites. Honestly, it'll be interesting to see how Packers go in tomorrow's game, because obviously, they got hammered by Saints last week. So we'll just see if that was a little blip on the radar, if there are problems. They can't do the Lions, and there are serious problems there. I think Tampa's still the favourites. Chiefs are going to be up there, obviously, and Ravens as well. Ravens had an awesome win against the Chiefs today. I'll be biased here for Snakeo, but I do think the Rams will be out there as well. Still working out a few kinks on defense, but through the first 2 games, Matthew Stafford has just lifted our offense to another level. It's been awesome to watch, and that's what let us down last season. So if he's there, I think we'll be in the hunt as well.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people did find it surprising that the Lions did let him go, and did not try and sort of sew him up, because we know how hard it is, especially for those bottom end teams, to find a quarterback and actually protect them. Did you feel like when he left that you were getting like an unfinished product, or did you think he was going to be what he is now?
I've always been a massive fan of Stafford. I just think he's been stuck in a shit situation at Detroit, and he's just never had any help. I think they're sort of making the right moves now. They've got a different front office now, which is starting to make some better moves. But he just, I don't think he ever got any help at that franchise. So tough as nails player. I've always loved watching him. He can be a bit of a gunslinger, can make some bad decisions at times. But in the right situation, pairing him with Sean McVay and all the offensive weapons we've got, I think it's just taking him to another level.
And a better running game sort of takes the stress off him as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the Rams probably needed that, Jem, in all fairness. They needed a bit of a gunslinger that's going to go and get them a win. That's going to go after it a little bit more. Yeah,
absolutely. I think, our defense last season was number 1. And just got really inconsistent play from Jared Goff. And that's sort of what let us down in most games. So the defense started off a little bit slow, but I haven't needed it to be perfect, because yeah, I think Stafford's just taken us to another level on offense. So it's been great to watch.
I just love that when the draft come out, when we drafted Carson and you guys got Goff, me and you were always having these sledging matches about who got the best draft pick. And now they're both gone and we're like, oh, fuck, that's over.
Well, it's disappointing because, like, when Sean McVay came in, Goff looked amazing. For about 2 seasons. He looked really good. And, I don't know what happened over the last sort of 2 years, but, it'd be interesting to see how long he lasts at the Lions. They've got a couple of first-round picks now to use. So, whether they use that on a quarterback next year or the year after, we'll see what happens.
Do you think like that trade that happened though will allow Goff to sort of relax a bit though, in terms of, so it gives Stafford an opportunity to play for a big team, and then it also takes the pressure off Goff because he's in a not so great situation.
He's not expected to do anything for the Lions.
And I think he'll be there. Like, he'll probably be their starter for another year or two because Lions stuck with that big contract of his. So, he's guaranteed a spot on that roster for the next 2 years at least, I think. It's not a great situation for him. I've always believed that Goff isn't, the type of quarterback that's going to lift a team on his own. He needs support around him. And so he needs good protection. He struggles under pressure. A lot of it was in garbage time, but he played all right in the game against 49ers last week, made some nice plays. So, I hope he does well. I think it was a trade that was beneficial for both teams, honestly. We move on from Goff, and I think Lions just needed a fresh start, and Stafford needed a fresh start. So, I think it'll work out for both teams.
Yeah, no, awesome. Who is your favourite of the rookie quarterbacks that have come in? So we've got like Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence. Baker Mayfield.
I play in a dynasty fantasy league. So for those who aren't familiar, it's not a redraft. Your team rolls over from season to season. And this year's rookie draft, I picked up Mac Jones. So I want him to do well, but I think he's just a perfect fit at the Patriots. But I'm really excited to watch Trey Lance when he gets his proper shot. We just haven't seen much of him, but from his limited college tape, I think he's going to be awesome, and he landed in a perfect situation with the 49ers. So I think the others, it's probably going to take a little while. Like, obviously Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent, but he's stuck on a really bad team.
Shit situation.
And their Urban Meyer head coach, I think, is just a loony. And he isn't going to help anyone. So, but he'll be good. Zach Wilson, I really like as well. But yeah, they're just on not great teams that are going to take a little while for them to work their way up. But I think me personally, I think Trey Lance, once he gets his proper chance, I can't wait to watch him. I think it'll be really exciting.
Well, hopefully we can see him soon. So. Okay, well, let's just run through some of the results that happened this week. Obviously, we just talked about the Ravens and Chiefs game. And the footage, I think the footage came out today of Jim Harbaugh just asking Lamar Jackson whether or not he wanted to go for it or not.
Yeah.
Like, that's just like, that's when like a coach and quarterback have got a good relationship too.
And it was absolutely the right call. They had to. Obviously, Chiefs had no more timeouts, but 40 seconds left. All Mahomes needed to do was get him in field goal range. He's going to do that. Like, he's just too good. So I think they had to. And when when they ran the football so well that game, so they only had to gain 1 yard. And, still ballsy. Ballsy.
Big time. I think that's the problem with the Chiefs though too. Like, we've said it all along, they'll score a heap of points, but the defense also does let a heap of points in. And like, it's been the same for them the last few years. Like, they might scrape out, like, they're never really winning comfortably.
Yeah. They're a 35-20 sort of team. They'd always rather beat 35-20 than that.
But to be fair though, I think the Chiefs are pretty much going to win that game until the fumble came out.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it was great sort of game management by the Chiefs to get the last possession, and all they had to do, like, it looked like they were just coasting to get that field goal. And then, you know, obviously the fumble happened, and it was great to see the Ravens sort of ice that. But I think, you know, the Chiefs, they had every right to finish that game off. It was just,
you're right.
I think Ravens just got really lucky there. And I think if Ravens really want to be, you know, like a title contender, I think they need to really polish off that part of their game, is just managing the game clock and everything else like that to make sure they've got the last possession, especially when they need to have the last possession.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, very good. Well, let's move on to some of the other results. We had the Cowboys again winning this week, 20 points to 17 over the Chargers. Good to see Dak Prescott back in the Cowboys outfit, but also look, I don't know, that they've been a shambles for a few years too. So
he's doing all right though for his first 2 games.
Yeah,
he probably last week he was brilliant, but probably struggled a bit more today. But that was another good game, and I just love seeing a game-winning field goal, particularly from 56 yards. Like that's an absolute bomb. So, that was great to watch that one.
Very good. We had the Titans getting the win over the Seahawks. I'm not sure many people would have seen this coming after the way Titans played last week.
Well, Seattle were up, I think it was 24-9, sort of midway through the third quarter, and then it was just Derrick Henry time. He just took over. You can see it there.
Dan Quinn must be coaching them.
Look at those stats from Henry. 41 touches, 237 yards, 3 touchdowns. God help anyone who was playing him in fantasy.
He was my captain.
Next game we had TB12 just absolutely destroying the Falcons. We can move on from this one pretty quickly.
Yeah, not the first time, is it, Roscoe?
Oh, mate.
Yeah, five touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Dude,
absolute monster game.
Between like Buccaneers have been our bogey team for I don't know how many years now, and then Brady just forever is like scarred the
He's also been your bogey for a while, hasn't he, Ross?
Yeah. So you've just got the double whammy of like TB12 on the Buccaneers just coming out and playing well. So,
and you guys sucking at the exact same time.
Yeah, well, I think Matt Ryan passed the most amount of yards in the first 14. Is it first 14 seasons or something? So it was some crazy stat that he had the most amount of yardage in terms of passing, but that doesn't mean anything unless you win. So
yeah,
it's just
score.
Yeah. We had the Cardinals getting over the Vikings ever so slightly. Cardinals have started out pretty strong this year. I don't think we expected the Vikings to score that many points though, considering how well Cardinals played last week.
Vikings should have won this one. They missed a field goal at the end from 36 or 37 yards out. Pretty much, it should be a gimme. So, but yeah, Cardinals looking good. Kyler Murray, I think, is probably the MVP favorite over the first 2 weeks. And yeah, they shouldn't have won, but they're still looking very good.
Yeah. Out of the younger quarterbacks, he seems to be developing the quickest and sort of the most under the radar. I think all the attention's on everyone else, and him just being in Arizona, no one really cares. So his development is just skyrocketing, I think.
Well, I think he's as good a runner as Lamar Jackson, but he's a far better passer as well. So some of the throws, the way he can get out of trouble, like the way he avoids sacks, is just ridiculous. So he's exciting to watch for sure.
I think we sort of saw a few games last year. I think the Cardinals did show that sort of form that they're in at the minute, but it just was never developed into a consistent sort of winning regime. But moving on, Panthers 26 over the New Orleans Saints 7. I'm not sure. I didn't see this one coming.
Not at all. Not at all.
No.
there's already been so much disparity between week 1 and week 2 results.
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
just like you think you sort of get a bit of an idea, but no, Penrith's got something good. Sam Darnold's just enjoying a fresh start.
Yeah.
So
been for him.
I think it was. I mean, yeah, it was going to be interesting. He was always going to get better once he got away from Adam Gaze, but no, he's been playing very well.
No, very good. Browns 31 over the Texans 21. Cleveland are looking pretty good.
They are.
Yep.
I mean, they had that close game last week that they lost, but this was looking a lot better for them this week.
I'm still a bit surprised by Texans. Like they gave it to the Browns this morning as well. It wasn't easy for them. But no, Browns are just too strong. They got a good defense and that running game. You know, Baker Mayfield doesn't have to do much. They just pound the football and it works for them.
Yeah. Chicago Bears 20 over the Bengals 17. Andy Dalton getting the win over his former club.
Never thought I'd hear of Andy Dalton getting a win.
Well, especially in the Chicago Bears outfit.
If they were going to beat anyone, but it's probably the Bengals. So.
Well, he did get injured. He did get injured about sort of around half time, I think. So Justin Fields actually came in.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah, struggled a little bit, but
so does Andy Dalton.
Yeah. So, but no, I think Bengals came back late. I think they scored 2 touchdowns in the last sort of 5 or 6 minutes, but just left it too late, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, very good. Raiders 26 over your Steelers, Muzzy 17.
Yes. Yeah. Old Ben Roethlisberger, mate, showing up his 50-year-old self, mate. You know, got the big knees out. You know. I tell you what, Raiders look decent this year, and they look good week 1 too. So not taking anything away from them. Steelers, we know who we are. We're going to finish like 2 games outside of getting a wild card spot or something like that. Or even if we make the wild card spot, we're going to get absolutely thrashed. It's just it's not going to change under Ben Roethlisberger. Is the thing.
We didn't get to talk about it last week, but how good was the atmosphere at the Raiders' first game in Vegas?
Yeah.
It was sensational. Like the whole hype, the DJ, like it was seriously cool.
Derek Carr had an absolute beast of a game too. 350 plus pass yards. Like that's a lot.
Yeah.
So for anyone, for any sort of game, 350 plus.
Yeah.
No, very good. Jam, LA Rams 27 over the Colts 24.
We made it hard on ourselves in this time. But good to see we could grind out a win. You know, we had it easy against the Bears last week. So a few mishaps. Defense still got some issues. There was an awful touchdown we gave up off a botched punt. But good to see, you know, we went down in the last quarter and we were able to Steph was able to lead us a touchdown drive late to seal it for us. And so good to see when it doesn't all go perfect that we can still grind out a win. I think that's a sign of a good team.
Very good. Snako, 49-17 over the Philadelphia Eagles 11.
That win streak lasted long, Snako.
Yeah, well, mate, it was the biggest win streak I think we're going to have all year. So it'll still be good enough for us to finish top of the conference. In all fairness, but like this 49ers have been looking pretty good of late. And I'm happy with how close, especially our defense. Like our defense played really well to keep it as tight as they did. Obviously, our offense is going to have the issues that we've got, but I don't know, mate. For a team that was as bad as we were last year, I don't think that's the worst performance and the worst result we could have asked for. So happy with the result, even though you'd always like to win.
Yeah.
But our conference is that shit, it won't matter. So
yeah. NFC East, mate, it's a joke. Absolutely joke.
You should try it sometime.
I wish, mate. We're stuck in the NFC West where everyone's undefeated so far.
Yeah.
Oh, not the Seahawks anymore, but yeah.
Oh, they're still a pretty handy team.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, definitely more deserving than the bloody Philadelphia Eagles to get through. Very good. Well, Bills bounced back pretty strongly too against the Dolphins, 35-0. I mean, I expected the Bills to sort of bounce back after that good finals run that they had last year to start off strong. But I mean, you drop a game here or there, but good to see them bounce back with a strong win.
Yeah, well, and Tua went down early in this one as well, which obviously doesn't help. Obviously you got Josh Allen in that lethal offense, but it was a defense which surprisingly stood up in a big way today. So that'll be good for them going forward.
Absolutely.
They're still a real dark horse for me this year. I think the Bills can really upset some people, especially if the defense can fire up and start stopping some teams, because their offense was never an issue. So they always just need a little bit of help from the defensive end. And I know that they did it without their number one quarterback, but it'd be nice to do it more regularly. Their defense stand up like that. And I think they could really challenge.
Yeah, who's the backup for Ty Tuivasa?
It was Jacoby Brissett came in, who's started a full season, but I think Tua looks good in week one. I thought so. Yeah, he seems to be taking some strides forward, so it was a loss for him.
Yeah. I think Tua is definitely their future anyway. I don't know necessarily if he's their best quarterback at the moment, but I think he's definitely he's the future. So they want him to play as many games as he can now. So hopefully he's back soon.
Absolutely. We had the Broncos over the Jaguars, and for Jacksonville they tie the longest streak of losses since Detroit in 2007 to 2009.
What a record!
Not ideal.
Especially for an up-and-coming
quarterback
like Trevor Lawrence too. So.
Imagine being Lawrence and you've been told since you were in high school that you're the best thing to ever play the game, and then all of a sudden you get drafted by the Jaguars. You just go, I'm going to go and play soccer. Thanks, mate.
He has, I think, it's probably been a bit of a struggle for him. He's made some throws where you go, okay, that's why he's the number one overall pick. But he has made some head scratches as well. But the main thing with Jaguars I'm confused about is you got running back James Robinson, who had an unbelievable season as an undrafted rookie last year, and they're not giving him the ball, which I just don't understand. So you get that running game going, it takes so much pressure off Lawrence. It makes no sense to me. But
they've notoriously been bad at handling their quarterbacks and handling how to set them up in good situations, like from Blake Bortles to the plethora of quarterbacks that they've had. Like I feel like it's a really bad situation for Lawrence, and he's got to find a way to get out of there. I think otherwise he doesn't want to end up like the rest of those blokes.
I'd say once his rookie contract's up, a lot of teams will probably be after him too.
Well, hopefully he's a little bit more polished by then. Otherwise, there's not going to be a lot of teams that want him. With a lot of quarterback classes coming through now, there's a lot of high quality talent.
True.
And if he's not polished enough for him to leave, he's going to be hard to find a starting role.
I think I've got no worries about Lawrence. He'll be fine. But he's too talented not to succeed in the NFL. But you can't not everyone can do what Justin Herbert did last year and just come straight in and just light it up from day one. So,
No, very good. Patriots 25 over the Jets 6. I mean, I don't think we expected anything from the Jets.
It was rough game for Zach Wilson this one. I think he threw 2 picks in a row, 3 and 4 passes or something like that. I think it was. So, rough one for him. But I think, they've got a good coach. I think the Jets will be all right. I really like Robert Saleh as their head coach. And, there's just going to be some growing pains.
Yeah. We're still in that rebuilding phase.
Absolutely, yeah.
Coxie D. We had the Washington football team over the Giants.
I'll tell you what, as a Giants fan, we don't really expect much this year. But you know what? We do expect a win over the Washington football team.
I was about to say, you haven't been expecting much for the past 4 years.
So you want to beat the team that doesn't have a name.
Well, that's it. I think
they bombed it in this one.
They did. There were some promising signs. Danny Jones, I should say, was sort of running the ball a bit, which was good. You can see he's got a running game, so those legs can move.
He's got to do everything for the Giants.
There was a fumble there to the receiver. Like he had it. It was a great pass, and he just had to catch it, and it was a touchdown. But look, anyway, I think we're heading in the right direction for a first-round pick, so I'll take that. And we'll go from there.
I was about to say a win, and I was like, what?
Ian, it's games like this that make me feel really confident as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, you're going to top the conference there, mate.
We won't top it, top two.
Yeah, I can't get over. Giants had this one, and then that offsides penalty off their field goal attempts gave him another chance, and Washington sealed it.
Didn't deserve to win it.
And
they're purposely tanking.
Yeah. I think the worst part was you wasted one of the rare good games from Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Like he played really well. And
he played really well. I just hope
and you're only getting 2 of them a year.
Yeah.
So,
and we cashed it at the wrong time.
Yeah.
we cashed it in against the Washington football team.
No, very
still
good.
Couldn't win.
And we've got the Lions and Packers to play tomorrow morning.
Surely the Packers are better
Surely
than they were last week.
Packers bounce back.
Yeah.
You would hope.
Yeah. I think last week was just a bad start, but if they can't take care of the Lions, then yeah, I think there's problems there. But I don't expect anything less than a big win for them tomorrow.
Yeah. Are you surprised that Rodgers has stuck around? Like I feel as though every off season we've had, Rodgers doesn't want to come back.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of it. I think this will be his last season. I mean, I probably said that at times last year as well, but I can sort of see. I think because Devonta Adams is off contract at the end of this season as well, so
yeah,
they might just do it as their last hurrah and move on.
Yeah.
But you never know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, that's our wrap up of the NFL Week 2. And before you go, Jen, we just got the grand final for the AFL coming up. Who is your pick?
I don't know. This one's so hard to pick. I think if I'm tipping, I'm going Melbourne. I think they've been the best and most consistent team all year.
Yeah.
But Dogs are finding some good form at the right time as well.
And that confidence is sky high at the minute too.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be a perler. I can't wait for it. And there's just so much talent across both teams. And, you got Bontempelli, McRae, Bailey Smith versus Petrarca, Clayton Oliver, Max Gorn in the middle, which is just going to be awesome to watch. And, I'm surprised that Melbourne are that far ahead in the odds. I think I'm tipping Melbourne, but I think it could go either way.
Close,
Well, no one expected the Bulldogs to go and do what they did to Port Adelaide. No one thought it was going to happen. Everyone was like, the Dogs have got a few people out. They're going to really struggle. And they come out and put out one of the most just dominant displays of the season. But both prelims were exactly the same. They come out and both had absolutely thrashing wins. So they come from good, solid wins they both had, and they have 2 weeks off and recover. And, I think it's going to be sensational. I'm going the D's purely on the story. I think the story behind them winning, I think sport's all about stories. So
I think it's also just good to see 2 teams that haven't necessarily been strong in the past couple of years. I know Bulldogs won the premiership a few years ago, but just to see them back up there and being strong, but also Melbourne. How long was it since they played finals? They didn't play finals last year, did they?
No.
It was
played a couple of years ago, I think.
Yeah. But they only scraped in that time. Yeah.
Well, I think back in 2018 they made the prelim. It's been a while since they've been touted for any kind of this kind of success. So
that's it.
Should be a cracker. But these are probably favourites. But in saying that, Melbourne Bulldogs did beat them think it was back in round 18 or round 19. Can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm sure they'll take plenty of confidence out of that. But yeah.
And the club and the Bulldogs can remember winning. Yeah, the Bulldogs can remember winning premierships. No one from the D's can. So it's one team knows what success tastes like, and the other one doesn't. So that could play an impact. Let's see what happens.
That's it.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, very good. Well, that just about wraps up this episode of the Pick 199 podcast. Jem, where can people find you and your articles?
So there it is. Perfect. If you look up The Point After on Facebook, facebook.com/The Point After Oz. So should be sort of hopefully 1 to 2 articles a week, just doing some weekly wraps, major talking points, and anything else I feel like talking about. So if you're interested, check it out.
Your main focus is the NFL on these articles.
This will just be NFL, yeah. Hopefully do a few Aussie stories as well. We've got some Aussies making their name, and headlined by Jordan Mailata, who's just signed a big contract, which is awesome to see. So he had one of the best blocks I've ever seen in last week's game.
It was so good.
It was just so unbelievable. So
I watched it on repeat.
Yeah. It's been a cracking start to the season. These first 2 weeks have been awesome. So hopefully it continues.
No, awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Jem. Wrap it up there.
Thanks,
for episode 45 of the Pick 199 podcast.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks.